Let's start by opening up in Gimp. Let's go ahead and open up a couple of images that I got off of Pexel.com. And I'm just going to stay with the factory settings and go with keep. These are high quality images. And I'm going to open up two images that I got from Pexel.com. And one is a woman, keep. One is a woman with lipstick on, purple lipstick on, and the other one is a file of some ice cream. Now, both of these are two separate files. And in Photoshop, I would say just drag and drop the image into the other file, and it'll work just fine. But in this software in Gimp, instead, I would say just copy paste. And the way you can do that is just make sure one's selected is like up here. And I'm going to go to File. I'm sorry, go to Edit, and I'm going to go Copy. And then I'm going to come over here to where I want it to be pasted, and I'm just going to go Edit, Paste. And bam, both of the images are in the same, and you can see they've come in the same. Now, into the same file, but the one that I just copied and pasted, the one with the purple lipstick on, she's a floating section, and this is something that we're going to be going back to over a couple of times in this tutorial, and this is a concept that I want you to understand in Gimp that's different than Photoshop. So what that means is a floating section is it's not really a layer yet, so we're going to have to make it a layer. And so basically all I'll do is, it says floating section right here. That is selected. You can see it's darker. And then I'm just going to come down here to the layer. Right now it's green I guess green is go, right? But, and I'm just going to say create a layer, and I'm making that a layer. So now it's not a floating selection anymore. Now it's actually been placed onto a layer. And you'll understand that more as we go on. So what I want to do is I want to select the lips, and I want to select the mouth and delete the face, the rest of the person. And then on this layer, I want to come in and select the ice cream cone and take out the background. So again, you can do the same thing. It has the same selection tools, are the same. They do the same thing, but they work a little bit differently in Gimp. They do the same thing as Photoshop, but they do a little bit differently in Gimp. So this is how we'll do it. How we'll start. First, let's go ahead and take the woman's head or face and skin away from the mouth. And the way I'm going to start with that, let's begin with the elliptical, or it's not an elliptical tool in Gimp. Actually, it's got another name. Well, we'll just use it. In Photoshop, it's you just go ahead, and all I did is click, and I'm just coming around and until I see a little yellow ball, and then it's going to make marching ants like so. But in Gimp, I can't just grab the move tool and move it. In fact, I'd move everything, and that would really mess up everything. So the way you have to move it is, you remember how when I brought that image in, that layer in to Gimp, and it was floating? That's what you have to do with the selection. So I've made a selection. I'm going to come over here to select, and I'm going to make float. So that's like pulling it up, and you can see here where Gimp just pulled it up off of the layer. And what I can do now is I can make, just like I did when I brought the picture in, I can go ahead and make it a layer like so, and then I can come to the woman. You can see where I've cut it out. I can go to this layer, and I can get rid of it by doing the X. So that's how I do it. And I'm going to show you how to come in and, oops, I don't want to do that. I'm going to show you how to come in and clean that up. But now you see I've got another layer, and I can move that around. If I were in Photoshop, let's see if I can find Photoshop. If I were in Photoshop, it would be a little bit different. I would come in, if I used the lasso tool, that was right on the tip of my tongue a few minutes ago. I was trying to think of lasso tool. It's called the lasso tool in Photoshop, but not that's not what it's called in GIMP, but it looks the same and it really works the same. In Photoshop, they've got some more variations on the lasso tool. You can actually select around, if you use the lasso tool, which you could go around and do like so, where you just click down and drag around, and it would give you the marching ants. You can do that. Or in Photoshop, you can also come in and there's other variations where you'd click and you would click these little lines. And that gives you more control if you're not used to doing the lasso tool, which you click, you get one chance, you click and then you drag, and if you pull it up, it automatically, you see how it selects across for you. So that can be kind of a pain in Photoshop. And then they also have the magnetic lasso tool in Photoshop, where you can, it actually selects the edge of the image for you, but sometimes that can get out of control too. You see, sometimes it's grabbing other stuff and it's hard to select. So that's kind of hard for beginners too. But the cool thing that I like, so that's in Photoshop. The cool thing that I like in GIMP is when we're using their, it looks like, it's called the free select tool, but it looks like the lasso tool in Photoshop. But when I'm doing, let's say, I'm going to go over here and do another layer now. I'm going to turn that layer off. See how I turn the eyeball off? But if I want to do, now I'm going to select the ice cream cone. So I'm going to use what it looks like the lasso tool in Photoshop, but it's called the free select tool in GIMP. So if I want to do it here and I click and I'm holding down and then I go, oh, and I get messed up and I let go, I can still come back and I can like pick it up and move it and drop it again, and it doesn't automatically select across the line. So I like that because I have a little more control, and it's easier to use, especially if you're just using a trackpad and you don't have a fancy mouse or a stylus, or like a fancy stylus, and you're just on a trackpad. The thing is, once you get the marching ants, you don't just click delete or anything. None of that works in GIMP. You need to go to select and come down to none, and that's how you get rid of those marching ants. So let's try it again with the GIMP select tool, and I'm just going to go around, and I'm not even going to select really close, and I'm going to show you why. I've got another trick. You see the little yellow dot? When that yellow dot's there, that means it's all joined. And then I can come in and I'm going to go to select. This time I go to float, and it makes the float down here in the bottom. And then I'm going to select this little green. This is the layers. And when it's not green, you can still select it. You can still click this little arrow down, this little, it's like a little black box with a little arrow, a little cross on in the corner, in the top left corner. You can click it even when it's not green and make a layer. Okay, but when it's green like that, that's like, hey, select me and I'll give you a layer, and that's what it did. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to get rid of it. Now you may be wondering, well, why didn't she come in and select closer? Because in Photoshop, like I showed you, there's all kinds of selection tools for you to get right on top of the image. Well, GIMP offers you something else to get into, and I want to show you. Their eraser tool works a little bit different. So if I select the eraser tool in GIMP, you'll notice that I can erase right now. Normally, if you can't erase, then this is what's happened, and I'll show you. If I come over here, if I go Control or Command on a PC, and I do this, I want you to look down here. If it says, I'm going to say Remove Alpha Channel. If it looks like that, if you come in with your eraser tool and you're like, it's not erasing the whole thing. I can't see the backdrop. I can't see another. Let's see if I make another layer. Watch, I'll put another layer. I'm gonna call it background. So if I put that in and I'll say okay. So I'm going to drag it down. And what I want to do is I want to erase this, and I want to be able to see the background. Let's put a color in the background. I'm going to choose a color. Okay. And I'm going to go to, let's see, they have a paint bucket tool just like in Photoshop, and I'm going to paint it blue. So just for this tutorial, you should see blue when I erase around the ice cream cone, right? Well, so right now I'm on the layer of the ice cream cone, and when I use the eraser, as you can see, I'm just getting white. Command Z, because I went into the... So the way I'm going to fix that, I already did, but I undid it. I undid it. That's not even a word. I undid it. The way you'll fix that is you'll come into the layer, select the layer, control click on a Mac, command click on Windows, and I'm going to say add alpha channel. Make sure I did that. Did I do it? Yeah. See, it's grayed out, so I added it. And now I can come in with my eraser tool, and it's selected, and I can come in and erase. And now it's going to show the background, that ugly, that obnoxious blue. And we'll get rid of that in a second. I'm just using the blue so that I can really see the edges better. Let's go in, if I want to get in closer, I'm going to just go View and Zoom. For some reason, my command keys aren't working on zooming in and zooming out. I have to come into Zoom, View, scroll down to Zoom, and then you can get bigger or smaller. So this way, I can come in a little bit tighter and, you know, get into the details. Now, you may notice using this technique with the eraser, it's very much like you're basically using a paintbrush and painting away the background. And this technique is really similar in Photoshop to masking, except when you're doing masking, it's non-destructive to the photograph. And what this technique that I'm showing you right here is destroying the photograph. So when you're doing this, make sure that the original photograph, you have a copy of it in a folder, save it on your desktop or in your Google Drive, you know, or just somewhere that you can get back to the original photograph. Because what I'm doing right now is messing up the photograph. I am editing it, and I am taking away these little pixels. So so that's as that's going. You can change the brush size. You can, because basically you're erasing with the brush. That's what the eraser tool is. You're moving through the eraser tool, but you're basically using a paintbrush. So you can make your paintbrush bigger if you're just erasing a big giant piece of, you know, spot that you just want to hurry up and get done with, and you can make your brush really big and just erase it like that if you want to. So that makes it move a little bit faster. So that's how I kind of got that going. Now let's make it go View, and let's zoom. Make it smaller so I can see a little bit more. I want to make this interesting shape. So I'm going to come over here to, this is a transform tool. I like Gimp's transform tools because you have this one transform tool right here in your toolbar, and you don't have to go into several menus or to find different types of transform tools. You've got this one transform tool, and watch this is really cool. I can sit here and I can distort it. I can make my image as large as I want. I can do all of that right here with one transform tool. And so it's kind of like your go-to. You can get do a whole bunch of different things with it. And I think that's pretty cool right there. You know what? It's kind of hard to edit because of this box. They won't let you move the box. Gimp won't. So you have to kind of edit around the box. But I wanted it to be fat. And then I want it to be kind of like skinny at the bottom. Let's see if I can do it. Show you how to use her mouth. And we're going to transform her mouth. Let's make her mouth, transform that. And I'm going to go ahead and make the mouth a little bit smaller. Wait a minute. Went back to the, there we go. And I want to bring her mouth in. And I want to do this. And transform. So that's your free transform. And you can see it's kind of wonky. I'm really used to Photoshop. So, and I got to kind of get used to it. But I still like it because, you know, there's more, you can really, there's a lot more, you can do a lot more with one tool. You don't have to keep going back and changing tools over and over again. So that's the mouth. So that's that second layer. And I'm going to go in and clean up around the edges. I showed you how to do that with the eraser tool. Okay, so I kind of got that adjusted. I brought them in and kind of adjusted. You can still see around the edges there's some things that I need to pick up, and I'm going to use the eraser tool to come in. And the background right now is not going to stay bright blue. I'm just using it to help me get my selections super clean. So right now I'm on it looks like I'm on the mouth. Let's see. I'm going to turn the eyeball off. Yep, it's the mouth. So I'm going to change the name of the layer and double click the name, and I'm going to call it, so I know what layer is what, and double click this one. Just all I did was double click, click, and I'm going to call this one ice cream. And then the background, that's just for editing purposes right now. So basically what I want to do is I'm just going to keep going back and forth on these two layers, and I'm going to use the eraser tool. I'm going to come up here to the eraser tool, and I'm going to, what I can do is I'm going to come to the brush, and I can get the size, make the size, I can either push it down like that, like so. You can see the brush gets smaller, or I can use these arrows like so. I can adjust it, the aspect ratio. That makes it flatter or rounder. The best way to do it is to start by coming up here and selecting a brush. I like this one with the sharp edges, but there's all different sizes, all different shapes you can get. So that's how you can adjust that, the aspect ratio, the angle, if you wanted to adjust the angle, spacing, hardness. I'm going 100%. But for the most part, I just go back and forth for the size, so I can come in and get really. And this time I came in with the aspect ratio, and that made it change the shape. I'm going to come in with the angle and change the angle too. So anyway, that's something else that you can adjust while you're going in and out of this. So I can go into the mouth, and again I'll go into the select the eraser tool, and I'm going to change the brush like I just showed you. If it doesn't erase, make sure, go in Control, click, and make sure that there's a channel, an alpha channel. This should be grayed out. Add alpha channel should be grayed out. And then you can come in and erase and get to the edges. See, I changed the angle so I have a little more of an edge. I can come in and get the edges like that. And I'm going to clean this up. And then the next video that I'm going to do for y'all, I'm going to show you how to change the color of certain of objects in the picture. How you can change, like, I think I want to change the color of her lipstick to red from this kind of fuchsia to red. So I'll show y'all how to do that the next video. But for right now, let's work on making layers and coming in and cleaning up your layer so that you can move your objects around and become a new character, something that gives you power, something that that brings you joy, you know, and that will be a character that represents you.